stabilizes structures critical to the cell's internal transport system. Nutrients and other cellular cargo are carried up and down the structures called microtubules to all parts of the neuron. In Alzheimer's disease, abnormal tau separates from the microtubules, causing them to fall apart. Strands of this tau combine to form tangles inside the neuron, disabling the transport system and destroying the cell. Neurons in certain brain regions disconnect from each other and eventually die, causing memory loss. As these processes continue, the brain shrinks and loses function. We now know a great deal about changes that take place in the brain with Alzheimer's disease, but there is still much to learn. What other changes are taking place in the aging brain and its cells? And what influence do other diseases,
I'll stop this because we've seen that part. So essentially, let me just highlight why, if you are, the gamma actually acts in both, slices it secondarily, but alpha and beta functions very differently. So alpha good, beta bad. Yeah? So when you produce this, these oligomers are thought to be toxic, and these actually are thought to be helpful. Okay? This comes from 21, phenylalanine 1 is 14, phenylalanine 2 is 1, and they map for the secretase enzymes. And ApoE, of course, has a role in the aggregation of your amyloid. So if you look at this picture, you can see where possibly the activity or the potential areas of research can be. I increase this, I decrease this, I get rid of this, I increase the activity of this, I decrease the activity of this. You can see by understanding the pathophysiology where I can actually act and therefore target activity. Of course, that is the amyloid hypothesis, but then there are the Taoist group that feel that the problem is not the amyloid or the oligomers, but is actually the tau protein, the degeneration of the microtubules, and therefore the hyperphosphorylation, the aggregation is another potential area of activity or research to actually reduce or to protect the brain. Okay, of course there are other, and therefore these are anti-amyloid, anti-tau, neuroprotective and restorative functions are where the actually research is going on. Okay, so as I mentioned, very clearly these are the areas of research. So muscarinic will promote this. So your L-saclidine promotes this area of research. Similar with this, actually promotes the production of this, but this one had a bit of a problem with the diabetes. This is diabetic medicine, if you all remember. Yeah, but I think they put the plug on the phase 2 because they had some AMI or some cardiac problems. But you can understand why they are thinking of this and why they are moving in that direction. Okay, there's very interesting research on your beta secretase. Inhibit this, therefore the reduction in production of alpha, your beta amyloid oligomers. And of course the other interesting thing is basically immunization. Basically they have shown immunization studies, and it has actually shown to be quite good. I'll read what I have prepared in terms of the immunization studies. It was found to actually prevent amyloid plaques, neuritic dystrophy and astrogliosis in transgenic mice. And there's actually a show of a partial regression and clearance. And therefore, out of the, they actually showed that in subjects, and there was actually some level of improvement. The unfortunate thing is that there were people that developed encephalitis due to the immunization, and therefore newer future directions for immunizing against beta amyloid include that of using a passive immunization, genetically vaccination of complementary DNA of the beta amyloid rather than the actual beta amyloid, and they are moving in that direction because those studies don't suggesting that it actually is useful, has potential big side effects now. With regards to neuroprotective things, therapies, things that actually reduce the hyperphosphorylation has been looked into. But I think you all know that Singapore is a big this type of activity is going on lah. And if you remember, the drug is called Rember, if I'm not REMBR. Okay, what it is actually a methylene blue, and it's actually methylene blue that actually prevents the aggregation of your tau proteins. So these are the things that, but you can generally have an idea of where the direction is going in terms of preventing either your tau protein or your amyloid protein. Okay, same, very similar thing, so I won't belabor the point. This in the articles that I've included in the journal. Okay, restorative things like stem cell, transplants. These are the type of things that they're looking at as well. Okay, so obviously the maximum benefit of these disease-modifying agents will be obtained if the treatment is initiated as early as possible in the process of the disease. Yeah, because as mentioned, if it only happens by the time there's X number of damage, the outcome may not be all that rewarding. And therein lies the second part of where research has to go, is in the prediction of who is going to get dementia and who does not. So besides just this arm where I find new ways of doing it, you need to be able to better predict who will get it and who will not, and therefore target those treatments towards that group of people. So the trouble is this, who do you give? Asymptomatic do you give? There may be two forms of it, and if you give too late, therein lies the problem. So there's a whole lot of research going on with that. Basic risk factors, if you're older, your female sex, family history, hypertension, diabetes, stroke, so on and so forth. Maybe you should be in the group that we treat early, right? Of course, then there are other things that we talk about, like your homocysteine level, your ApoE profile, genetic risk factors, so on and so forth. And finally, biomarkers are also a big thing that they're going into. So your MRI, basically hippocampal volumes, certain specific changes in the brain, functional MRIs, PET scans, looking at your amyloid load, things like that to predict whether or not you will benefit from it. And studies have actually been going on in terms of that. Finally, of course, your LP, whether tau, phosphorylated tau should be measured, whether your beta amyloid levels should be measured, whether markers for apoptosis, whether at the end of the day there can be some level of agreement that these conglomerate type of assessments would dictate that you are at high risk and therefore will benefit from these new interventions that come about. Okay, but unfortunately at this point in time we still sing the same tune, yeah, in that the disease process is unfortunately at present irreversible, incurable, and will deteriorate with time, unfortunately. Yeah. So this is not to be nihilistic to a certain extent that we can't do anything, but I think a good call to let us remember that it's not just treating the disease but holistic care of the patient. So your call is to actually help them cope, relieve suffering, and possibly help the family manage the illness as well. Okay. Any questions at all with regards to that?